Soraminamia, Raminade Yare. Soraminamia, Zipambaya Pala. Oroko Bena, say lavi, Oroko Bena, Kamale, Itiarako Bena Jarama. Oroko Bena, Kamale. Yama, 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 Pembero na yamala kono, Yamate donna vengono. Pembero na yamala kono, Yamate donna vengono. Yama, yama, yama. Yama, yama, yama. Bellingham, you showed up for a storyteller. Give yourselves a hand. I'm so excited to be here with you. For those of you who have never met me or you aren't a part of the Waldorf community here in the public, let me reintroduce myself a little bit. They call me Bob the Storyteller, and per the introduction, you're right. I'm not really a storyteller. I'm what's known as a griot in West Africa, but griots are not something we know about in our society. So I use the moniker of a storyteller because if people say, what do you do? And I say storyteller, well, everybody kind of knows what that is. So my objective tonight is I want to offer you all an immersive experience. I want you to feel something unique. I want you to feel what I felt when I was living in Africa. Because I was born here, but when I left for Africa, I had no idea. I had no concept what it would be like. So you guys ready for an immersive experience? Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Every once in a while, there are some words that are going to come out of my mouth. When these words come out of my mouth, I need you to be ready to say something back to me. For example, I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't time it, I don't try to do it, but you're going to hear me say, Bati o bati. Okay, some people already know. Okay. For those of you who do not know, whenever I say Bati o bati, everyone responds with Bati. Bati o bati. Bati. Now, here's the key. Hold on, there's a key. I'm going to tell you some of the things that help make this an immersive experience. Whatever flows from me is what you send back to me. So if I say it with strength, I need your ba-ti to come back to me with strength. And as the griot, this is how griots function. I know that I'm giving you something and you're receiving it. If I say it loud, I need you to be loud with your ba-ti. And if I give that to you and you give it, you guys see how it works, right? So the griot is only as powerful or strong as his or her community. Bati o bati, bati. And then everyone goes quiet. And if I lower my voice, bati o bati, bati. And everyone goes quiet. Now, the first part I don't have to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you give me your eyes, I promise you music and stories. If I give you my eyes, you give me your ears. When you give me your eyes, what my elders taught me, Bati or Bati? Bati. Oh, y'all are ready. What my elders taught me in Africa is that when you're speaking to someone and they offer you their eyes, they're no longer listening just with their ears, they're listening with their hearts. So that's why I kept the house lights on. I'm not a performer, I'm a griot. I need to see people. I need eyes. I need everyone to be present. Bati or Bati? Bati. In fact, I'm going to tell you a little secret. Griots don't prepare the stories that they tell. Griots are not actors. The stories that I tell come from you. While we're engaging, while we're interacting. Right now, I have no story in my head. But while we're engaging, while we're interacting, the stories come. Griots immerse themselves in story, and the stories come in the moment that they're needed. So, whatever story I tell, Bati or Bati, Bati. Whatever story I tell, don't ask me why I told it. It's your fault. Bati or Bati. Bati. So let's get going. There's a song, an ancient song, that is over 800 years old. 800 years old. It is the song that I use whenever I share stories. Oh, wait a minute. Have you ever made a promise to a child and then realize you're in the position where you must keep that promise? We adults, we keep our promises to children, don't we? Okay, so I wasn't thinking earlier today, and I made a promise to a child. So if my performance doesn't flow quite the way it normally does, you can blame this child sitting up front 4 rows in. I see you, baby. I made you a promise, didn't I? I don't even remember what story I told you. Oh, okay. Bati or Bati? Bati. Bati or Bati. There was a lion roaming through the jungle. And as this lion was roaming through the jungle, he decided that he was going to leave, go out from the savannah, and go towards where human beings existed. And he managed to go near a farm. He was quite a distance from the farm. Bati or Bati? Bati. But as he was this distance from the farm, he looks up and he sees all of these sheep playing, frolicking in the field. So the lion, he's looking and he's watching, but then he sees something really strange, something odd. Frolicking among the sheep is a lion cub, a little baby lion cub. So the lion decides to investigate, and he starts moving. And what he's noticing is this lion cub is hopping around like a little sheep. This lion cub is like a little sheep. This lion cub is playing just like all the little sheep. Now when the lion is moving closer, all the sheep look up, and when they see him, oh, they get excited, they start yelling, "Ah, a lion, run, everyone run!" So they all start running, screaming, "Lion, run, lion, run!" Even the little baby sheep. Baby sheep is running too. Bati or Bati? Bati. The lion cuts off the path of the little baby sheep. The lion cub cuts off his path, stands in front of him, and the lion cub looks up and is shivering in fear. And the lion says to the little cub, "Why are you running?" And the lion cub looks up and says, "Because you're a big, mean lion, and we sheep, we're afraid of you. Bah!" Bati or Bati? I feel it, you're giving it back. The lion looks at the cub and says, "You are not a sheep, you are a lion, like me." And the little cub says, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm a sheep." So the lion says, "Follow me, come with me." The lion takes the little cub to a lake so that he can see his own reflection. And when he takes him to the lake, he looks in the lake, the cub is here, and he tells the cub, "Look at yourself, and then look at me." So the cub looks at himself, he sees himself in the water, his reflection, he looks over to the side, he sees the lion, then he looks up, he sees a lion, he looks down, looks at himself up and down, he keeps looking, when all of a sudden he realizes he's not a sheep. He indeed is a baby lion. And it was in that moment when he realized something about himself. When we take time to truly look at ourselves and see who we truly are, our reflection will tell us the truth of who we really are. When we take time to look at ourselves, but when we don't take time to go within, to think about who we are, we become less than who we are meant to be. We are all lions. But when we don't take time to reflect and think and go introspective, we can become sheep. Oh, I'm going to be so careful at school tomorrow. Now, I want us to have this immersive experience. So I'm going to teach you a little bit of this song. And I just need you to repeat the words that I say. The words come from a language called Bamana in West Africa. This song, like I said, is over 800 years old. Repeat these words. Iye jalia. Iye jalia. Alaleka. Alaleka. Jalia da. Now, some of you already know the song. Let's get everybody else on board, okay? Iye jalia. Iye jalia. Alaleka jalia da. Alaleka jalia da. Now, you guys want to hear what it sounds like when we sing it? Okay, for those of you who don't know, just listen to the kids. Listen to the kids. Here, wait a minute. I'm assuming that you all are going to back me up. Do you have my back? Yeah, Jalia. Yeah, Jalia. Alaleka Jalia da. Okay, all the other stuff I taught you, I'm not teaching this whole crowd, all that other stuff. But if you guys want to jump in on all the other stuff, that's cool too. Now everyone, after me, let's see what our community sounds like when we are together, when we sing together. Yeah, Jalia. Yeah, Jalia. Alaleka Jalia da. Alaleka Jalia da. Now, I'm going to play this song on the kora, the ancient harp of the griot. When I play this song, I'm going to sing a whole bunch of words you guys don't know. Bati. Do not try to sing everything you hear me singing. Stay with the yeah, jalia, and then if you listen with your heart and not your ears, you won't hear just a gourd, some wood, and nylon string. You hear the magic of another culture. Listen not with your ears, but your hearts. So I'm going to sing some words. I'm going to tell you a little bit of why I'm singing the words I'm singing. The words I'm singing they're inviting our ancestors to be among us. Those who are responsible for us having been here. And then when I get to that, yeah, Jalia, oh, you're going to give me back what I give you. And when I feel it, okay, hopefully a story will come in my head. Yate jalia de nakale dibi jalia de koro ka jali ke ninke jali ke bati wala ye yo kala ambi asinana kumbeba jali musone jali kelu ambi asinana and stop bula bula julula ibara bula para januma ye jalia. Come on, let me feel it. Alaleka jalia da. I'm gonna try to be stronger. Here we go. Ye jalia. Alaleka jalia da. Ambi asinana. There was once a man, he was so poor and poverty. Every day he would walk up around in his village with a little bowl. It was a wooden bowl. They called it a beggar's bowl. And he would go to people and he would hold his bowl out in front of him and he would say to anyone he passed by, "A little rice for my bowl, a little rice to feed this poor hungry soul." And the people in his village, well, they weren't wealthy, but everyone would offer him a little bit of their rice. And usually by evening, he would have enough rice to go home and have a meal. This was his life, day in and day out, holding his bowl out, begging for rice. This is how he cared for himself. Yeah, Jalia. Yeah, Jalia. Alaleka Jaliada. Alaleka Jaliada. So one day, the baker is walking through the streets of his village. "A little rice for my bowl. A little rice to feed this poor hungry soul." But on this day, the people in his village are so generous. They give him so much rice that his little bowl, his little bowl is overflowing by noon. And what this means is he doesn't have to keep begging into the evening. He has enough rice to go home and have a meal during the day. He's never had this much rice before. So he takes this bowl, he holds it gently, and he begins walking home slowly. He doesn't want to drop a single grain of rice. He's walking as slowly as possible. As he's walking down the main road of the village, men on horses come riding by. And they almost knock him over. So he leans into a wall like this, holding his bowl, and these men are whipping by on these horses when one of them stops. The beggar, he cranes his neck to look up to see who stopped. Sitting there atop the horse, looking down at the beggar, was none other than the king. The king looks down from his horse at the beggar, and he says to the beggar, "What do you have there that is so valuable to you? What are you protecting?" And the beggar, he turns around to show the king his overflowing bowl of rice. The king then looks at the beggar and says to him, "Hand me your bowl." The beggar doesn't want to deny the king. So he hands the king his bowl. He doesn't know why the king wants his bowl, but he hands the king the bowl. The king is sitting atop the horse. He looks down at the beggar and he says, "We've been riding for days. And in those days, I have not had anything to eat." The king says, "I am so hungry, I'm starving." And then he says to the beggar, "How many grains of rice will you allow me to eat from this bowl?" The beggar gets upset. He cannot believe his ears. The king, the wealthiest man in the land, who has a palace with cooks and servants, wants to eat from the bowl of a beggar? The beggar gets angry. He says, this is, in his mind, he says, "This is all I have." Oh, some of you guys sounded very angry. That was good. That was too good. But the beggar uses the king's words against him. When the king says, "How many grains of rice will you allow me to eat?" the beggar, he's smart. He says, "Oh, your highness, we do not want our king to go without. We want you to be fed. I don't want your belly empty. Please take 5 grains of rice to fill your belly." Okay, is that a lot?
No.
Come on. Is that a lot? No. Yeah, Jalia. Yeah, Jalia. Alaleka Jaliada. Alaleka Jaliada. Am I to understand from this overflowing bowl of rice that you are allowing me 5 grains? The beggar says, "Yes, your highness, no one should ever deny their sovereign." So the king counts out loud. He says, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then he hands the bowl back to the beggar, and the king rides off. The beggar is overjoyed. He has outwitted the king. Yeah, Jalia. Alaleka Jaliada. I like the way that feels. One more time. Yeah, Jalia. Yeah, Jalia. Alaleka Jalia. Alaleka Jalia. So now the baker, slowly, he walks home, takes his overflowing bowl of rice. All he's missing are 5 measly grains. He's so happy. He gets home. He sits down. He begins to eat his rice. But he has to stop. Because something is wrong. He bites down on something in his mouth. It hurts. It's hard. He spits the rice out into his hand to see what it is. And there among the rice, the size of a grain of rice, was a tiny gold nugget. He checked his bowl. He found a second tiny gold nugget. Come on, y'all are smart. How many did he find? 5. But listen very carefully to what I'm about to say. The baker's heart was so poor that he was never ever able to figure out where his gift, his blessing, came from. But you all with pure hearts, you know where the gift came from, don't you? Where did it come from? The king. Who? The king. Yes. Yeah, Jalia. Yeah, Jalia. Alaleka Jalia da. Alaleka Jalia da. Ambia sinana. Ambia sinana. Ambia sinana. Humpe. Jali. So then, Ambia sinana. Now lower your voice. Give me back. Yeah, Jalia. Yeah, Jalia. Alaleka Jalia. Give me a soft whisper. Yeah, Jalia. Alaleka Jalia. If you enjoyed that story, clap for it. If you give me your eyes, I promise you music and stories. If I give you my eyes, you give me your ears. If we want to understand the world that we live in and the cultures that we share this world with, the people, we need to listen more with our hearts, less with our ears. One time, before time, going back in time, this is way before once upon a time, there was a young woman, very different type of young woman, who enjoyed life unlike anyone else. Her name was Fatu. Fatu was her name. Fatu was a beautiful, highly intelligent young woman. But she wasn't happy. Do you want to know why she wasn't happy? I'll tell you why. She wasn't happy because she did not like being a little girl. What Fatu wanted to be more than anything in the world was a grown-up woman. She would dream about the clothing that women wore, the way that women looked, the things that women did. And Fatu, even though she was young, she wanted to be grown-up. She wanted to be a woman. But her mother, her mother would tell her, Fatu, listen to me. You are only the age you are today. One time. You will never be the age you are today ever again. Her mother would tell her, Fatu, enjoy the age you are today because tomorrow comes too soon. Do you think she listened to her mother? No. Okay, y'all answered that a little too quick. I didn't get one yes out of this whole crowd. Oh, thank you, baby. Did you say yes? If you said, let's clap for the children who said yes. Thank you. But Fatu was not as wise as the children who said yes. You see, one of the things that the women would do, I'm going to show you this, that was different than what the children would do, was gathering water. You see, when the children would go down to gather water, they would take a calabash, a gourd. And when the children would gather water, they would scoop up water like this, And then the children, they would hold it like this. And the children, they would walk back home. And you know kids, they're playing, they're laughing. So they're spilling water all over the place. But the women, oh, bati. When the women would go gather water, the women would go and they would take their calabash in one hand. They would scoop up water like this. The women would then take the calabash and they would not carry it here. Do you know where the women would carry it? Show me, yes. On their heads. And the women could put large calabash water on their heads, put their hands down, and ever so gracefully walk back to their village and never spill a single drop. Bati. But young girls were not supposed to carry water this way until they were women, until they were older. But Fatu, oh, she loved practicing when no one was around. In fact, Bati, one night in her room, Fatu had taken her mother's calabash off of the shelf. She went to her room. She put the calabash on her head and started walking and acting like a woman with the calabash on her head. And as she was doing this in secret, who walks in and catches her? Who catches us doing everything? Mom. Yeah, her mom. Her mom walks in and says, Fatu, what are you doing with my calabash? Fatu takes it off of her head. She says, I'm sorry, Mommy. And her mother says, Fatu, how many times have I told you? You are only the age you are today one time. You will never be the age you are today ever again. Her mother said, Fatu, give me my calabash. And she looks her daughter in her eyes and she says, enjoy the age you are today because tomorrow comes too soon. And her mother leaves. Do you think she listened to her mom? No. You just want me to make everybody clap for you. Bati. That night, Fatu went to bed. And I don't know if this has ever happened to any of you. She went to bed, she had a dream that seemed so real. It seemed so real. Fatu dreamed that she was no longer a little girl, but she was a woman. Bati. In her dream, she saw herself as a woman. She had clothing like a woman. She dressed like a woman. She was a woman in her dream. And in the morning when she woke up, was she a woman? No, she was still a child. She was still a little girl. But she did something. She made a decision that morning. She said, what do I have to wait for? Why do I have to wait? If I want to be a woman, I can be a woman. So that morning, Fatu decided she was going to be a woman. Bati. She had so much courage and conviction in that moment. She went into the living room and took her mother's favorite calabash off of the shelf. Oh, no. She walked down to the water with her mother's favorite calabash on her head. And when the children, there were a whole bunch of children there, when the children saw her, the children saw there was something different about Fatu. They didn't know what it was. She still looked the same, but she had the calabash on her head. They wondered about that. And then when she got to the water, they knew what it was, because she took the calabash in one hand, and she scooped up water like a woman. She put the calabash on her head like a woman. She began to walk like a woman. But don't judge my walk. I felt judginess over here, okay? She began to walk like a woman. And in West Africa, there's this noise that children make when they see a child doing something. I don't know why they make the noise, but I remember when I was in West Africa, I had them teach me how to make this noise. It's guttural. It's kind of scary if you hear it. You guys want to hear the noise? Wait. I'm not trying to scare you guys. I just want to share culture with you. Is that okay? Yes. Okay. So this is what the kids taught me. So when a child is doing something like this, all the children around, when they see it, they all, at the same time, they don't even signal each other. They don't even look at each other. They just make this noise. It sounds like this. It goes. Ooh. Primitive, I know, scary. But they all make this noise. And Fatu, she had the calabash on her head, it wasn't falling off, and she was walking, and then she decided to do something fancy. She was going to walk in front of all the children. When she got to the center, she was going to spin around in a circle, keep the calabash on her head. She was showing off. So she walked. The calabash was staying on her head. She came all around, showing everyone. And when she got in front of everyone, she spun around in a circle, and the calabash jumped from her head, fell to the ground, broke into dozens of pieces. All the children, they looked at her, and when this happened, all the children went, how did you guys know that?
Because you said it.
I'll do it.
Fatu, she bent down and she began picking up the broken pieces of calabash. And in her head, she could hear her mother's voice. She could hear her mother's voice over and over saying the same thing. Fatu, you are only the age you are today. You will never be the age you are today ever again. Enjoy the age you are today because tomorrow comes too soon. She heard this in her head over and over and over again. She picked up the broken pieces of calabash. She held them and she began walking home. I do not know why, but all the children started following her home. When Fatu got close to her home, holding the broken pieces of her mother's calabash, who was waiting outside? Trust me, this never changed. I don't care how old you get. Her mom. Her mom saw her, and immediately when Fatu saw her mother, she began to watch your butt. When her mother saw her daughter crying, it broke her heart. Her mother didn't know why her daughter was crying, but mothers do not have the strength to endure the tears of their children. Her mother felt sadness. She looked at Fatu in her eyes and she said, Fatu, why are you crying? Fatu looked up at her mother, and the same way so many children answered, she answered the same way. When her mother said, why are you crying? Fatu said, I don't know. Yeah. And then her mother saw the broken pieces of calabash, and her mother said, Fatu, my favorite calabash. What happened to my favorite calabash? Why is it broken? What happened? And just like many kids, she looked up at her mother and she said, nothing. It was at this point, all those children who followed her home, they jumped in front of Fatu and they said, we know, we saw what happened, we'll tell you what happened. They said Fatu came down to the fresh water with a calabash and she scooped up water like a woman. She put the calabash on her head like a woman. She began to walk like a woman. And we all looked at her and we said, ooh. That's when she decided to get fancy. She walked around in front of all of us. She spun around in a circle. The calabash jumped from her head, it fell to the ground, it broke. And then again, we all looked at her and said, Fatu's mother looked at her. She said, Fatu, what the children are saying, is this true? Looking into the eyes of her mother, she found the courage to tell the truth. She found the courage to tell her mother that what the children were saying was true. Her mother looked at her and she said, Fatu, I will never say these words. None of you will ever hear me say these words again. This is the last time I will say these words. You are only the age you are today. I don't care your age. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how young you are. You are only the age you are today, in this moment, in this second, one time. You will never, ever be this age again. Her mother looked in her eyes and she said, enjoy the age you are today because tomorrow comes too soon. Fatu learned her lesson. But the reason why she learned her lesson, she learned it through breaking her mother's heart. We do not want to learn our lessons by breaking the hearts of those who love us. Our elders are born before us for a reason. And when they offer us advice, when they offer us their wisdom, when they offer us their words, our job is to listen. Do not learn your lessons by breaking the hearts of those who love you, because our parents, our grandparents, our teachers, when they offer their advice to us, it comes from a place of love. So Fatu finally learned her lesson. Yes, she did. Now I'm going to tell you a little something about this story that you'll appreciate. I learned this story almost 30 years ago in the Gambia, West Africa. I learned it from a woman who was in her 80s at the time. Her name was Fatu. Fatia Vati. I shared with you a story. This makes us friends. And this is how the tale of Fatu ends. If you enjoyed this story, clap for this story. Nadiara mogomina kute kuyarira. Nakuyara mogomina tumba diarira. Naroniara mogomina jelia diara bungala. Jalilu wilila, ole walale, finalu wilila, ole waipo, jalo dindingo wilila, ole wala bungafe, ye bunga wo, ini wilura jaliala, mami sila labini mai Umate kuna keba mekono, umate polege. Umate kuna keba mekono, umate polege. Buro kumate keba mekono, umate polabo keba yele. Ye wala barile, ini buru rajali ala, manding sila la mai Bati. I also made another promise to another child at the school. But this child is older, so maybe she won't hold me to it. So, you're gonna hold me to that promise? Of course you are. I wanted to give you guys just time to relax, to enjoy an immersive experience with grills. But here's the thing. When the community speaks, one child does not speak for themselves, they speak for many people in the community. So you want to know the promise I made? That I would stop and let people ask questions before I went on with another story. So you better have a question. Are there any people out here who have any questions before I continue? Because I have a few more stories I want to get through, and I'm not going to hold you all night. Yes, I can tell stories and play music all night long, but I'm not going to keep you here that long. Who has a question? And I will come to you, and I'm going to start with you. Yes?
On your strap, you have a missing shell. Is that your bracelet you're wearing?
You noticed the missing shell on the strap? This is incredible. Okay, she's right, Bati. I've had this strap. These are shells that people have given me over the years in Africa. And I took a lot of those shells and I had this strap made. What she noticed was this little spot way down here. Do you see it? Yeah. That's what she's noticing. But she noticed it for a reason, and she did not know this. Bati. I was at a performance, and it was a children's hospital. It wasn't a performance. I was visiting bedsides at children's hospital. And there was a little girl who fell in love with the shells. And I told her, next time I come, I'll bring you one of the shells. And she said, I don't know if I'll be here next time. So I took a razor, and I cut a shell off of my belt, and I gave it to the little girl. So now whenever I see this empty space, it just reminds me to lead with my heart. Great question, wow. Give her a hand for that question. Bati. One more question, and I have a story I'm going to. Yes, I see you all the way back there. Yes. How do you tune it? Very carefully. Very carefully. I'll show you. I don't know, I'll try to come into the light so you can see. You guys see does everyone see these little leather strips here? Yeah. There's 21 of them for each string, so there's 21 strings on the chord. Each of these leather strips, it's called consulo, are attached to the bottom. They go over a bridge and then attached to the bottom down here. You move these up and down, each one, to find the voice of the chord. So every single one of these has a different voice, which gives all the voices together, the ensemble that you hear when I'm playing. But this is how you tune it. Okay. Bati. I wasn't going to tell this story, but since you asked me, I have to tell this story. Doesn't make me look particularly well, but okay. When I first started learning to play, tuning the chord was the hardest thing. Bati. Tuning the chord was the hardest thing. Bati. Yes, I need you to feel my frustration. It would take me hours and hours to try to get it tuned. So I was with one of my elders, a teacher. His name is Papa. So Papa, I'm sitting outside of his compound, and he's showing me how to tune, and I'm watching. Remember, I was born here. I had something to prove, okay? So I'm watching, and he says, are you ready? I had watched him for so long, I knew I was ready. So he said, here, he hands me the chord. So I start tuning the instrument like this. And I get here, and this one falls down. And all of the ones that are below it fall down. So I get it tuned. It's staying here. I'm coming on. Oh, I'm excited. And this one up here falls down. And it keeps happening. And I'm getting frustrated. 30 minutes passes by, right? Papa is walking up and down like this, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna get this. And he's walking past me, he's looking, and he goes on. He brings out tea, he's sitting over, he's having tea. And every time I get like successful, that top one keeps falling. It just keeps pushing them all the way down. An hour of anger, an hour of frustration. Finally, I look at Papa, and he's sitting over there drinking his tea. And I said, Papa, what am I doing wrong? It keeps falling. And he says, finally you ask. I didn't have to spend an hour in frustration or anger. I could have asked for help, but I did not. And because I did not, was that Papa's fault? But he was the one I blamed. Bati oh bati. There was a little boy with his father walking through the pathway. They were on a hike together, the little boy and his father. And as they're on this hike together, the little boy, he's like a lot of little boys. He runs ahead of his father. He's jumping up and down on logs. He's picking up rocks. He's throwing them. And they come to this log in the pathway. Bati oh bati. Give me a soft one. Bati oh bati. They come to this pathway as they're walking, and there's this log, a big log blocking the path. So look, he runs over to the log, he jumps up on it, and he does like a muscle flexing pose. Like this, right? And he looks at his dad, and he says, I'll move this out of the way. Do you think I can do it? Do you think I'm strong enough? And his father looks, it's a huge log. But his father looks at him and he says, son, if you use all of your strength, yes, you can move that. So the boy jumps off the log, and he starts trying to push it. But it's too big. He can't get it moved. He starts trying to pull on it, but it won't move. So he's pulling, he's struggling. He looks up at his father, and he says, you said I can move it. He said, and his father looks at him and he says, son, use all of your strength. Come on. So the boy keeps pulling and pulling and pulling and trying, but it's not moving. And out of frustration, he starts crying. He's just a little boy. He starts crying, and he looks up at his father, who he believes in. And he says to his father, you said I could move it. And his father said, son, you can, if you use all of your strength. And he said, I'm using all of my strength. And his father says, no, son, you are not, because you did not ask for help. Being able to ask for help is a strength. I'm going to say this about us. In our society, we give lip service. We tell everyone, we tell our children, if you need help, ask for help. Are we honest? Raise your hand if you have a problem asking for help. Everybody's hand in here should pretty much be up. Raise them up, people. No, I'm looking in your eyes. I'm looking in faces. But we will tell children, ask for help when you need help. Rugged individualism is an aspect of our culture in this society that is inbred in us. It is a part of Western culture. It is a part of who we are, even though we know better. Even though we know better. Bati, bati. Okay, I want to close. Well, you know what? I want to close. You want to close with a song or a story?
Story.
Who said that?
Story.
Hold on. What's your name? Monty. You want to do both? So Monty, if I teach another song, you're going to be the loudest singer in here, right? Somehow I don't doubt that about you. I feel very confident that you will be. Okay, here's what we'll do. Oh, this is so dangerous now. I'm going to teach you another song. But when you sing this song, it's upbeat. You got to feel it. You got to be happy. You got to sing this song with some verve. You got to feel it. Are y'all ready to feel it? Yeah. Okay, repeat after me. E-I-A. E-I-A. Now make the sound of the letter N, but you're going to cut it short. E-I-A. E-I-A. Te-te. Te-te. Kumala. Kumala. E-I-A. E-I-A. Te-te kumala. Oh, we're just going to go for it. I'm going to sing. I'm going to point to myself. Then I'll point to you. Y'all are going to nail it. We're ready for this. Practice. Mush it up a little closer. Listen to how I sing it. Now, batio bati. You want to know what the words mean? I'll tell you. EIA doesn't mean anything. It's like yelling. It's like saying, I'm getting ready to sing. I'm going to do something incredible with my voice. Here it comes. Everybody watch out. That it's not EIA. I anglicize it because, well, we all speak English. But when you say it, it's EIA. But to teach you, I say EIA. So it's kind of like, there was this philosopher who's very famous sometimes for like not using words. He would put things out, and people just felt what he put out. They weren't always words. They didn't always make sense. His name was James Brown. You guys know? Okay. So now you understand EIA. You understand EIA. So when you say with that N, it's a pronoun. It means I or me. Te means I will not. Te is an emphatic. Means I will not, I will never. Now I'm going to give you the literal translation, but it doesn't mean, it's not what the literal translation means. So, te kumara means I will not speak. But when the Bamana say te kumara, what they're saying actually is, I will not allow words that cause pain to come from these lips. I will not speak words that cause harm. I will only speak words that build. Does everyone understand? So when you say te kumala, you are actually making an affirmation. You are saying, this is me. This is who I am. This is how much I value the power of the words that come from me. So I'm going to play. Now I'm going to sing a whole bunch of words, but we're going to start with that te kumala. I don't have a story in my head yet, but I appreciate the challenge. I'm going to find one. Anima kula nungma tete kumala disini kula nungo inala bunyo kuja bola nungole tete kumala iaye tete kumala iaye tete kumala. It was a very strange day. It was strange. It was weird. Because on this day, donkey and tiger were embroiled in an argument. No one had ever seen this before. Donkey arguing with tiger, tiger arguing with donkey. What were they arguing over? I'll tell you. Donkey was yelling at tiger, saying, Tiger, the grass is blue. Tiger said, no, donkey, the grass is green. Everybody knows that. But they were going back and forth and back. Neither one of them was winning this argument. So, because neither of them was winning the argument, well, Tiger decided they needed a mediator. Someone to settle the argument. So he suggested they go to the king of the jungle, lion. Now, they go to lion. Both of them, they're walking toward lion. And as they're walking toward lion, donkey breaks and he runs ahead of tiger, who's just walking. And he runs ahead so that he can get his story out before tiger gets there. We all know people like this, don't we? Bati. He runs ahead and he says, King Lion, it's me, Donkey, I have a problem. He says, King Lion, Tiger's been arguing with me, stressing me out all day, trying to convince me that the grass is green when it's obviously blue, and I've been trying to tell him to listen, to reason the grass is blue. And then Tiger gets there. So Tiger gets there, and he looks up, and Lion holds his paw up to shush Tiger. He allows Donkey to continue talking. So he says, I'm right. Tiger's wrong. Right, King Lion. So King Lion, he looks down at the two of them, and he says, Donkey, yes, you are right. The grass is blue. Tiger can't believe his ears. Donkey says, I knew I was right all along. I knew it. I love being right. We know those people. Then he says to Lion, he says, Tiger has been stressing me out all day, arguing about this. He said, I want you to punish Tiger. Bati. So King Lion says, I will punish Tiger. He said, Tiger, for the next 7 days, you are not allowed to open your mouth or speak. Tiger can't believe what's happening. Donkey skips off. He skips away yelling, I was right, Tiger was wrong, I love being right, I was so right, I knew I was right, the grass is blue, the grass is blue, the grass is blue. And then he skips out of sight. And the only two left are Tiger and King Lion. So King Lion is getting ready to turn around and leave when Tiger says, King Lion, may I speak before I begin my punishment to you? King Lion says, go ahead, Tiger. Tiger says, King Lion, everyone knows that the grass is green. No one is confused about that. You know that the grass is green. Why are you punishing me when you know that I am right? And Lion says, I'm not punishing you over the color of grass. I'm punishing you because you are a noble, intelligent being, wasting your time arguing with donkeys. I can already tell. There's a lot of wisdom in this room. How many have wasted their time arguing with donkeys? Give me a loud whisper. Not a story, but a thought as you exit, as you walk out. Here's a thought. I'll leave you with a thought. There's a little girl. She's about 4 years old. And she's standing in her backyard. And in each of her hands, she has an apple. She has 2 apples, one in each hand. Her mother sees her through the back window. And her mother thinks, she's going to go test her daughter. This is what parents do. She wants to know that her daughter has learned all the lessons in their home, to be kind, to be generous. So the mother goes outside to the little girl, and she stands over the little girl, she looks down, and she says, oh, honey, I see you have 2 apples. And the little girl looks at the apple in this hand, and one in this hand. She looks at her mom, and she says, uh-huh. Her mom says, oh, honey, those apples look so delicious. The little girl looks at each apple and looks up at her mom and says, uh-huh. Here comes the test. All parents do this, not just moms. All parents do this. Her mom looks at her and her mom says, oh, honey, may I have one of your apples. And without hesitation, quickly, the little girl takes the apple in her right hand, bites into it and starts chewing, and then the apple in her left hand, she bites into that one and she's chewing. And her mother is looking at her daughter, and she cannot believe that her daughter, who she has taught to be kind and generous to share, she cannot believe that her daughter is doing this. And in her mind, the mother is getting so angry, so upset. The mother is furious over this moment. And she decides she's going to tell her daughter how she really feels. She's going to tell her daughter how disappointed she is in her. But before the mother can open her mouth, right when she's about to open her mouth, the little girl holds up the apple in her right hand and says, "Here, Mommy, this one is for you. It's the sweetest one." If we lead in our lives, that the people we don't know, that the people we haven't encountered yet, that the people we pass by, if we lead in our lives and assume that they are always offering the sweetest apple, it would help so much to embrace the humanity of every human being. Here's the thing. Not everyone is going to offer the sweetest apple the way you would, or even the way I would. No. They will offer it in many different ways. And just because it doesn't look like how you would offer it or how I would offer it doesn't make the apple less sweet. So as we leave here and as we go out into the world, lead with your hearts. Assume the sweetest apple is being offered by everyone. I hope you enjoyed tonight. Thank you all for coming. You guys don't have to stay sitting here. We'll be here all night. Thank you for being here.